The next section in the create belief chapter, the second part, is called mind conditioning. And this is actually a lot bigger of a topic than I probably dedicated to in the book. But the reason for that is that this is very much a self-paced exercise and it's a self-based learning. Everybody's going to have their own taste as to how to do mind conditioning. But the main thing here is to bring the awareness to you as to how important this is. Now, I'll just kind of give you a little bit of my own experience when I talk about mind conditioning. What I'm really saying is that where you are today, being somebody who is of the employee world and having this desire to be an entrepreneur, to be out on your own, um, you've got to where you are today through a certain set of beliefs and behaviors and ideas that are essentially programmed into your head. You've been conditioned that way. Conditioning is really just a bunch of habits that you've acquired over time. And if you want to change, if you want to become this new person, then you need to recondition your mind. So that's why this is called mind conditioning. What I was able to do in my life was once I recognized that I wanted to make this transformation and become an entrepreneur, I knew that just at a gut level, I knew that it was going to take some time and that I had to really break down whatever beliefs were holding me where I was in that job. So what I did was I happened to be a commuter. I spent many hours a week on the road, anywhere from 1 hour a day to up to 3 hours per day, depending on where my customers were and where I was driving. So I had this enormous opportunity to invest in and listen to different kinds of personal development programs where I literally turned off all music and just sent in these motivational and thought-provoking messages into my head. So I was thinking about them all the time. And not a single day passed for probably 6 to 8 months where I did not listen to personal development audio or watched it on a video or read it in a book. And usually it was a combination of those. But that's exactly what I want you to do because that's what it takes to recondition your mind to this new level. And so that's what the whole first idea here is to read, watch, listen, and then mix combinations of those things of different kinds of personal development messages, authors, speakers, programs. In the ebook, so go and take a look if you need to right now, but in the ebook I've given a bunch of my recommended favorite authors, but that by no means is the extent of the list. The number of people out there teaching this kind of material, showing you how, giving you examples and demonstrating for you how you can think in a more empowering way, it's amazing the number of resources that are out there. I can remember, as an example, when I started doing some cold calling when I was first launching my business. That's just what it took. I was cold calling to get speaking engagements, and it was so scary for me. It was just way out of my comfort zone that I would get in my car and listen to Les Brown, who's a motivational speaker. And as I went from call to call, his 10 or 15-minute talk pumped me up enough that I had enough courage to go back into the next call. And very often I'd get rejected, but that rejection wouldn't stick with me because I'd go and pump my mind full of this motivational stuff again. So a lot of people say, oh, he's just a motivational speaker and it's just rah rah, but you can't think of it that way. You really need to understand that what you're doing is you're sending messages to your mind over and over again to convince yourself that it is possible for you to become this new person. And that's what mind conditioning and personal development lessons is all about. So experiment with variety. For example, Les Brown is a motivational speaker, and he can get you excited and pumped up if you need to do things like cold calling. But then there's other speakers who are much more reserved and very business focused, and they'll talk about business principles and best practices. And then you'll hear of other speakers who are very much on the spiritual side and finding peace and relaxation and calm in your life, which is also very important when you think about all of the potential stress that comes with being an entrepreneur. So try different speakers and authors and personal development teachers out and see who resonates with you. And the ones that do, stick with those and invest some time into those. And again, like I said before, daily repetition is an absolute must. This isn't something you can just do on a Saturday and a Sunday afternoon and expect that you're going to become this new person with a transformed life. This is daily, and you got to do it as often as possible. Like I said, I had that opportunity as a commuter to do it. If you're a commuter, great. If you're not, then maybe you have an iPod or something that lets you listen to these materials while you work. Do that. If you go to the gym, get some kind of listening device so that while you're working out, you can listen to your mind conditioning, your personal development stuff. It's up to you, but if you commit to this, I guarantee you're going to start seeing a change in your overall in the way you carry yourself and the way you think about things. So the third step in the Create Belief chapter is called guidance and mentoring. And there's a couple of very important topics in here that I just want to dive right into. First of all, mentoring. We just talked about mind conditioning and learning about personal development, learning about personal transformation. And while you're listening to these things and learning them, it's all very theoretical. And then you'll start applying things and taking action in your life where you're learning on the fly, and that's great. But it really goes into high gear, this whole mental conditioning or learning process, when you can find a really good mentor. And a mentor is somebody who can demonstrate the real world application of all these lessons that you've been studying. And this is somebody who's already been through that process, whether they did it naturally, as they were just kind of born into this risk-taking successful entrepreneur mentality, but in most cases they probably weren't. They trained themselves to be that way. You can learn so much by just being around and hanging around people who have already done what you're trying to do, and experiencing what it's like to be them by observing them, and even in some cases participating in projects with them. So there's no one step or single process that you can follow to finding a mentor. You just need to acknowledge that having a mentor is important, and this exercise will help you find a mentor, but also identify mentors that would work well with you and that would be a good fit for you. And the sooner you can get involved with a mentor, the better off you're going to be. So the exercise in the book gives you basically a preparation sheet for finding a mentor. And I won't go through the whole thing, but really the idea is to look for people out there that you want to learn from. And in general, if you can find somebody who's already in the industry or the business, or at least something very similar to what you want to do, and they've achieved a lot of the things that you see yourself achieving one day, that's a great person to hook up with. But you can't just walk up to them and ask, "Can I be your friend?" Because nobody makes friends like that. Nobody starts mentoring people because they just come up and ask out of the blue. You need to be a little bit strategic with it. So start thinking about how you can help that person in their business, how you can help them advance with their current goals. Think about how you plan to approach the person. In many cases, if you just ask to buy them lunch or buy them a cup of coffee, they'd be interested. And especially if you're coming from the perspective of, "Hey, I just want to learn from you. Maybe you compliment them, or maybe you even buy a product or service from them to show how much you believe in what they do. That's a great way of getting your foot in the door with a mentor. And then if you ask from a very genuine perspective, saying, "You know what, I really respect the work you do and I'd love to learn from you." And if you do it from the perspective of that you just want to learn and you're not trying to steal or borrow their time, and you respect that their time is worth money, they'll more often than not be willing to help you. So as you get involved with mentors and you're helping them, then you can ask them for help and ask them for lots of advice. And then the best thing you can do is start applying that advice and show them that you're getting results. Because I know from the perspective of having mentors and also being a mentor to other people, that this is the process that keeps those relationships going. And very often a mentor-mentee relationship will turn into simply just a friendship. And that's the best possible scenario for you as a new business owner, is to have a friend who's already a very experienced, a very successful entrepreneur. So that's an overview of how to acquire and then how to work with a mentor. The next section is coaching tips. Now, in some cases, mentorship relationships work out amazing, and I really hope you can find a mentor. But in other cases, I also recommend having a coach. So these are not mutually exclusive things. It's probably something you do both of. Coaching really comes in handy when you want to have somebody that that understands the process of transformation, understands how to motivate people, and how to hold people accountable for what it is they're trying to do in their life. And there's so many great coaches out there that can help you do it. And I've personally used success coaching and different kinds of life coaching systems in my life, even before I became an entrepreneur. And I attribute that to really helping me launch into my business owner career. Because without it, I think I would have been missing a lot of perspectives or blind spots that I just couldn't see. And these coaches were great at seeing the things that I didn't see in myself, or that I just didn't see about my life. So when you consider hiring a coach, look, there's 5 things I generally recommend people look at. First of all, what's the coach's background? If you're looking for a very specific kind of coaching, if it's business coaching you're looking for, make sure that the coach that you're hiring isn't just certified as a business. In fact, I don't ever care if my coaches are certified or not. I want to know if that coach has successfully launched a business. If you're looking for a coach that helps you find more balance and peace in your life, make sure that they're very peaceful people and have a well-balanced life. So look more at the results of the coach versus certifications or anything else. If they're producing results that you want, usually a good candidate to be your coach. Also, if they have a proven track record of really helping people transform their lives, then that's a very good sign that they can probably help you as well. The other thing is most good coaches will offer a free session. In fact, it's to the coach's benefit as much as yours to make sure that there's a match. Not all personality types get along, and in some cases, if you have a type of coach that's just not going to jive with you, maybe they're very aggressive and you're more passive personality, their aggressive nature might not sit well with you, and it actually might hinder your progress. So free consultations, and it's usually just a 20-minute call, is more than enough time to tell if you're going to be able to get along with that coach. So make sure that they offer those and that you can choose as to how your coaching is going to proceed. Then understand the kind of format that the coach operates in. In some cases, it's in person, one-on-one, live at a coffee shop or in an office. But in more often than not, the coach is not physically going to live in the same area as you because there's just so many coaches to choose from. There's a good chance your coach will live somewhere else in a physically different location. So the format might be phone call or video Skype, or it might be text-based through email and through just chatting. So pick the style that works best for you and just make sure as you go through that you're actually getting true value and it's really helping you. Also, make sure that the coach offers services that are flexible to your needs. There are some coaching programs that say, look, we want you to commit for an entire year. But if you know that's just not how you operate and you have very short deadlines of things you're trying to achieve, maybe a 3-month or a 6-month coaching package makes more sense for you. And if they're not willing to offer that, then that's something you have to consider. Maybe this isn't the right coach for you if they're forcing you into a length of time that you aren't comfortable with. And then beyond that, ask what kind of additional support they provide. There is the coaching session itself, which is the call or the meeting, and traditionally that's once every week or every second week. But then beyond that, you're going to want access to your coach to get perspectives or ideas or bounce ideas off them. So how do they offer that? Is it through email? Is it through chat? Are you allowed to call them at different intervals? Find all of that out, and then based on all that stuff, you can usually make a pretty educated decision as to whether or not this coach will help you. Then the fourth and final step here in the Create Belief chapter is called Architecting the New You. And really what it comes down to, what it boils down to, is looking at how we produce results in our lives. Now, results themselves, anything that, if you look at your life right now, you have results in terms of your physical level of fitness. You have results in terms of your bank account. You have the result of what you're currently doing at your workplace, what your job is. All of these different results, when you analyze them, were driven or you arrived at these results because of other things. And the process that you get to results is you have habits, and those habits drive your behavior. The behavior basically makes you take actions that produce your results. So if you really want to change the results in your life, you have to go to the root cause of the results, and that is your habits. So that takes us into what I call the habits exercise. This is not just a theoretical exercise. This is something that I applied in my own life for well over 100 days straight. And it's probably the number one thing I attribute my being able to go from this job mentality of needing that job to being totally free of that and saying, you know what, now is the time for me to become an entrepreneur. And it's because I did this, because I addressed very specific habits in my life. And I'm going to explain the system to you a little bit. The idea here is to print out at least 90 copies of the sheet that's included in the PDF. It looks something like you see on the screen right now. Not quite, but very similar. And the idea is that you want to come up with 6 success habits, or yeah, let's just call them habits for now, that you want to incorporate into your life. I've already given you 3 in this chapter. Your business blueprints, because you want to become an entrepreneur, you need to have those business fundamentals. You need to work on those every single day. You need to have a habit of mental conditioning. Every single day you have to feed your mind with positivity and fuel that keeps you going so that you become that entrepreneur you want to become. And you need some form of guidance and mentoring in your life. And whether it's from the coach, or it's from, even if it's just a support group or a networking group you join, or if you do find that mentor, you got to have that. You got to experience that hopefully every day if you can. So those would be the first 3 habits that you create. And then you add 3 more in the blank spots there where you see the boxes. So this could be things like doing a good deed once a day. You could have a success habit of spending 30 minutes a day creating content. Let's say your new business is you're going to be a blogger. You need to make sure you're writing blog content on a very regular basis. So that's a habit you should get into doing every single day. You might have a habit of working out, going to the gym at least once a day, even if it's only for 10 minutes to get your heart rate up so that you can stay healthy and energized because everything you're trying to do right now in your life is going to require full focus and your full energy. So what you do is every single day for 90 days, you write those 6 habits on the right side of your page. Then you start going about your day. And every time you do something, whether it's a simple task like uh, getting up and reading your book, you write it down. Or maybe it's you drove to work. Well, on that drive to work, you listen to personal development, you write it down. And as you complete tasks on the left side and you write them down, if they fulfill one of the habits you're trying to imprint on the right side, you check it off. And this is a great way of ensuring that at the end of the day, you can ask yourself, did I commit to my habits? So the other thing it does for you is it's kind of an activity management system. Anytime you do something, you write it down, you know what you did at the end of a day. And you can also see that, yes, I have 6 check marks on the right side. I've committed to my new habits. And if you commit to these habits for a long enough period of time, you are now that new person. Those habits are part of who you are. So this is something you can experiment with. If not all these pieces of the exercise fit for you, then you can change it. Maybe 6 is too many, or maybe the 3 that I recommended here is just too much for you to absorb at once. The key thing is create new habits that drive results that you want to produce, and make sure that you track every single day to do something that contributes to you having this new habit, this new behavior in your life. And I guarantee you're going to see those new results. It's an absolute guarantee. It's inevitable because that's the way it works.